Are you good at keeping things in balance? Or do you let things get way out of whack before you realize the scales are actually tipping against you? When this happens, you can feel overwhelmed, out of control, or just plain tired. So I like to think of balance in three ways: mental, emotional, and physical. And that's what I'll be covering in this episode in three parts. Part 1, mental; Part 2, emotional; and Part 3, physical balance. When you get mentally out of balance, it's usually because you're overwhelmed with too many things to think about. Being emotionally out of balance usually comes down to the quality of your relationships with others or even with yourself. And being physically out of balance can pertain to your health and fitness, or simply not having enough time to get it all done. There are two sides or opinions to this balance thing. Some people recommend organizing your life so well that you never get out of balance, while others suggest that the whole idea of balance is nonsense. Many of life's most dynamic and successful people have lived a life of extreme imbalance and credit that for their incredible motivation and achievements. Personally speaking, I've worked hard and long hours for years, but I love what I do. And that's a big part of why that imbalance has worked for me. Mentally, I have a lot on my plate. I've always got a lot of teaching, writing, and business projects going, and I love being busy because it keeps me motivated. Emotionally, I have a healthy relationship with myself, with who I am and what I do. And I'm not frustrated because I'm in line with what I want to be doing. Physically, I take care of my health by eating well, and my exercise is riding horses every day. I sometimes end up with too much on my plate, but when that happens, I stop and reorganize things rather than get frazzled and frantic. Now, over to you. Do you feel physically exhausted, mentally stagnant, or find yourself without close relationships? Would you call yourself a workaholic? Do you feel a lack of spiritual alignment? If you answer yes to any of those questions, your life probably feels out of balance. So let's take a look at what balance looks like in each of these areas and what that really means for you. Here in part 1 of this episode, we'll start with mental balance. I think of mental balance as having the space and ability to make plans, to think things through, and to make good decisions. When you've got too much on your plate, it's almost impossible to think clearly, and you find yourself making knee-jerk decisions rather than thinking it all the way through. Poor planning and bad decisions create chaos, and chaos begets more chaos. You need to take control of your life and make sure that you have the time to make proper plans for your life and for your work. Next, assess your life. What's on your list? Are you living the life you want, or is your life running you? When you feel out of balance, it's often because you're unfocused and maybe directionless to some degree. You feel out of control and end up running in circles and accomplish little for your efforts and stress. The first step you need to take for achieving balance is to set goals. Personal goals, business goals, family goals, travel goals, goals for whatever is important to you in life. Without goals, it's almost impossible to organize and prioritize. And these two things are essential for achieving mental balance. Here's an easy way to do this while having a bit of fun, dreaming a little, and doing it without pressure. Number 1, what would you love to do every day so you look forward to work? Number 2, what do you want your family life to look like? Number 3, what do you want to do personally that expands or fulfills your talent or hobbies? Number 4, how do you want to take care of your health? 5, what do you want to do for fun and relaxation every week? And 6, where do you want to go if you have a vacation? Is there somewhere in the country or in the world that you're eager to visit? And number 7, do you have a retirement plan? Now you can simply address each question and write down as many thoughts that come into your mind. Then walk away, come back, and pick the top 3. You don't want to have too many, and having more than one gives you some additional options. And who knows, you might end up doing all 3. Next, look at what it will take to achieve those. Current situation, money, time, and if anything is too hard, change it, but don't omit it. Finally, you commit to doing it and put a timeline against each one. Here's some important advice. Setting goals gives you direction. Sometimes you discover something else on the way, and it might even be something better. Write your goals in pencil so you can change them if needed, but make sure you have a good reason, especially if you tend to have trouble staying focused or on track. Then, know what your priorities are. Imbalance happens when you try to cram in every activity possible. It's impossible to examine your values and decide what's important to you. And then you need to set boundaries so you don't get distracted or tempted to add things to your list that will tip the scales against you. Depending on what stage you're at in life, your focus and energies will be different. Prioritizing will help you avoid overwhelm from having too many big projects in your life at one time. Next, reflect. There are times you've successfully accomplished goals and important things in the past. Remembering what you did is something that can help you get back in balance. Think about it. How did you stay focused towards this goal? How did you handle your fears and doubts and anxieties or worries and negative self-talk? How does it feel to know that you've accomplished the goal in spite of that? When feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to forget to do what you know. And reflecting on the times you were clear and powerful will really help you refocus and be effective today. Then be sure to turn it off so you can reboot. I know it's hard, but if you don't plan time to reboot, it will be forced on you. Mental, emotional, and physical breakdowns happen because you're overworked and overwhelmed, and you can't see your way clearly. You need to make time to decompress and reboot your systems, and it really works. Just try to figure out the best way for you. For example, some people like to completely unplug for the weekend or spend time alone, sleep in a little, go for a walk on the beach or in the woods, somewhere in nature. While others reboot by being with people, going to dinner or the movies, or spending time with friends and family. Do you get the picture? It doesn't always have to be a week-long vacation or more. You just need to figure out what is your best reboot. In part 2, we're going to look at emotional balance. See you then.